2 weeks ago, I talked about which coaster I would add to each Cedar Fair park, and a link to that video will be in the description. But today, I'm going over what coaster I would add to each Six Flags park. Now, in this part 1 video, I'm only going to be going over 8 of the 15 parks in the chain, and then the final 7 will be covered in a part 2, released next week. With all that out of the way, let's get right into the video. Now, in case you haven't seen the first video, then I have a few rules I need to go over before we begin. 1. These have to be in the realm of possibility for the park to actually get. Not every park has the space or budget to get a B&M Giga or an RMC Hyper Hybrid. 2. The coaster needs to make sense in the park's coaster lineup. If the park already has a mock launch coaster, then it wouldn't make sense for them to get a mock extreme spinner. 3. I am not limiting myself to the manufacturers that Six Flags work with, so that does mean that Gerstlauer and Mach are on the table for these coasters. Now with all that out the way, let's get right into the video. Starting us off is Six Flags America, and well, this is a park that really deserves more than what it gets. Located just 40 minutes from Washington DC, the park has over 6 million people they could pull from, if they just got a little bit more investment. Which is why I'm giving the park a small-scale Gerstlauer Infinity Coaster. A coaster with a similar design to Gold Rush at Attractie Parkslageren? You know what?
Slageren Attracties.
Now, with Hershey Park just about 2 hours and 30 minutes away, the park needs a coaster that can really stand out, with Fahrenheit taking away the option of a vertical lift with a beyond vertical drop. As well as Stormrunner being a traditional launch coaster, they would need to get creative. Give the coaster a swing launch along with a similar system to Icebreaker to allow for 2 train operations, and I definitely feel this would push the park and area into a new era of growth and respect, because by golly does this place need some respect to its name. Coming up next is one of the smallest Six Flags parks, and that is the Great Escape, and with only 6 coasters there is a lot they could use. Placed in the middle of Manchester, Syracuse, and Burlington, giving them a pretty decent amount of people to pull from. And the park is getting some investment in 2024 with the Gravity Group family wooden coaster, Bobcat. Now, right now the park only has one coaster that features inversions, which is an Aero Corkscrew, Steamin' Demon, a coaster that is commonly considered to be one of the worst in the world. It's for this reason that I'm giving the Great Escape a Svekoma Space Warp. This is a small and compact launch coaster featuring 3 inversions, a few moments of airtime, all packaged into a ride experience that isn't too intense for the mainly family demographic of the park, and is truly the perfect coaster for this park, and it can be the high thrill coaster that most kids will be able to experience for the first time. Crossing the border into Canada, we make our way to La Ronde, only 13 minutes from the center of Montreal, the city alone having a population of 1.8 million people, which makes the state this park is in even more shocking. Not to mention the beautiful location the park is built on, surrounded by water on all sides with a massive lake in the middle. Yet the park itself does not continue the nice look. The coaster lineup is definitely one of the weakest in the chain, but something that would elevate it to the next level and give the park a true standout attraction would be an RMC conversion of the park's wooden coaster, Le Monster. There are 2 paths the parks could follow, the Twisted Colossus dueling route or the Iron Gwazi single track route. But no matter what direction they went in, the ride would be elite. Monster is already an excellent location right next to the water, and I can already picture how beautiful a large structure like an RMC would look not only from inside the park, but also from the city surrounding it. Let's take a trip over to Frontier City, a park with only 5 coasters, only 2 of which are thrill coasters. Just 14 minutes from Edmonton and 16 minutes from Oklahoma City, the park is in a fantastic spot, being able to pull from over 700,000 people within not even a 20-minute drive, as well as being right off of Highway 66. In terms of coasters, the park has 2 kiddie coasters, 1 family wooden coaster, and 2 looping coasters. So when I look at the lineup for what they are missing, my mind immediately goes to airtime. The park is also missing that true standout coaster that sits comfortably at the number 1 spot. It is because of these reasons that I'm giving Frontier City an RMC Raptor. An RMC Raptor would not only easily fill the standout coaster gap, but also give the park some true airtime. And not just airtime, but strong ejector airtime. This would just be the standard compact model, but due to the park's size, they really don't need anything bigger. The park would still be able to easily market the coaster due to the single rail design, and it being drastically different from anything else in the park and area. Six Flags Darien Lake is a very odd park when it comes to its history as a Six Flags park, as well as when it comes to the park operations. The coaster lineup is a very top-heavy one at that, with an Intamin Hyper, Superman, and a Gerstlauer Infinity Coaster, Tantrum. However, after that, it falls off pretty hard, with the next best thing being Predator, an old rough din wooden coaster, which goes over a boulder. Inside joke. The park is just over 40 minutes away from Buffalo, which has over 300,000 people to draw from, which isn't a ton, but is enough to warrant some investments. With no other big parks in the surrounding area, everything is on the table for me to give the park, but for this video, I'm giving them a GCI family wooden coaster. Not only would this bring a brand new wooden coaster to the park, but it would also give the park another coaster that focuses on fast pacing and has loads of airtime. Have the coaster be around the same size and scale as Zambezi Zinger located at Worlds of Fun, and further differentiate it from Predator. Instead of having a traditional out and back style layout, they could go with a compact twister layout, focusing on more compact twist and rapid pops of floater airtime. Add a few tunnels at different points of the layout, and the park would have a big hit on their hands. Let's leave the US once more and take a trip down to Mexico for Six Flags Mexico. Located just 50 minutes from the heart of Mexico City, with over 9 million people to draw from, there is a lot that could be added here. The park has a pretty interesting coaster lineup, featuring 5 high thrill coasters and 4 family coasters. The top 2 include Superman El Ultimo Escape, a massive Morgan Hypercoaster with over 5,000 feet of track, and Medusa Steel Coaster, a R.C.E hybrid coaster. But the one thing the park is missing is a launch coaster. It's for this reason I'm giving Six Flags Mexico an Intamin multi-launch coaster, similar to Taiga at Linnenmaki. Not only would this give the park a state-of-the-art modern launch coaster, but also perfectly round out their top 3 with yet another fantastic coaster. Give the ride 2 launches, 4 or 5 inversions, some rapid direction changes, and of course, some ejector airtime. And I believe there is a high possibility that the coaster could be the best in the park. They could even have the coaster use the hilly terrain of the park in order to really maximize the thrills. All around, this would be the perfect fit for the park, and I hope to get something similar. Our next park is Six Flags St. Louis. Located just 30 minutes from St. Louis, this park is in an area with 2.8 million people to draw from, meaning there is a large market for the park to draw in. The coaster lineup is also pretty good, with 3 wooden coasters, including the absolutely massive Boss, 3 coasters that focus on flipping you upside down, one of which is inverted, the unbelievably intense launch coaster, Mr. Freeze, and 3 family coasters. In terms of gaps the park needs to fill, there really isn't many, but that doesn't mean there isn't one. The one massive gap in the coaster lineup and they are missing is a smooth airtime machine. And when I think of coasters that fit that description, my mind immediately goes to the tried and true B&M Hyper. I feel that a B&M Hyper would do wonders for the park because currently they only have 2 coasters that give airtime. Those are American Thunder, a GCI wooden coaster, and Screaming Eagle, a PTC wooden coaster. Not only would a B&M Hyper give them the true sustained floater airtime, but it also fill the gap of a true headliner for the park, because right now their top 2 is slightly weak, made up of American Thunder and the Boss. Something long and graceful would fit perfectly at the park, and would also improve the skyline so much by giving them that one huge ride. That's why a B&M Hyper is the perfect fit for Six Flags St. Louis. Making our way to the first Six Flags park, we go to Texas, more specifically Arlington. Six Flags Over Texas was, as I said, the original park in the Six Flags chain, and sitting just 30 minutes from Fort Worth, the park has well over 950,000 people to pull from, just in that city alone. The coaster lineup is also rather strong, with 14 different coasters, including the new Texas Giant, the original RMC Hybrid, and Titan, a Giovanola Hyper. Some other notable attractions are Mr. Freeze, Aquaman Powerwave, Shockwave, and Batman the Ride. All around, the park's lineup is one of the best, which makes this park slightly difficult to pick for, but in the end, I ended up deciding on a GCI wooden coaster. Currently, the park only has one wooden coaster with Judge Roy's Scream, and that is a classic PTC from the 1980s, and their only other wooden coaster was R.C.E and turned into New Texas Giant. So I think it's time to fill the gap of a full-scale, high-intensity wooden coaster again. Give the ride similar stats to Thunderhead, along with multiple pops of strong floater airtime, quick transitions, and of course, lots of crossovers. And I think this will be the perfect fit at the park, while also giving them something substantially different than their sister park. In the interest of keeping this video a decent length, I'm going to end the video here. In the next video, I'm going to be going over Fiesta Texas, over Georgia, Discovery Kingdom, New England, Great America and Great Adventure, and finally Magic Mountain. I will be back with next week with part 2, so you don't have to wait long. That's all for this week. Before you go, I just want to ask you to like and subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to reach 300 subscribers by the end of 2022, and it would mean the world to me if you would help me out. One last thing is that at the time of this video being released, I am seeing the Five Nights at Freddy's movie tomorrow. So if you want to see a vlog with me and all my friends talking about our first reactions to the film, be sure to check out my gaming channel, which will be linked in the description. Okay, I won't spend any more of your time. I will see you next week with part 2. Bye for now.